I noticed that when I check my how many views there are on videos, I kind of keep an eye on it to see if there's an interest in what I'm sharing. And I talked about money the other day, and that seemed to create some interest for sure. And also, when I talk about the matrix and how to get out of the matrix, and the other one is when I address light workers and star seeds and healers, those of us who came here for these times to help the transition. We are in the middle of a huge, huge energy shift. If you're not feeling it, it may just be that you're not really paying attention to it. And maybe your energy is more outside, and you can probably see that a lot of the things that we are so used to being a certain way is changing dramatically. And if we just focus on that as if it's an outer event that is just happening, you may miss that the inner, what's going on the inner, and how that's all reflecting on the outer. I don't know if that made sense, but just to come back to like money, out of the matrix, and light workers. So I know when I talk to other light workers or healers, teachers, misfits, we all feel it for sure. There's no doubt about it. And there is a strong pull to get out of the matrix in whatever that means to you. For me and for many that I talk about, it is felt as a longing for something better, for something more peaceful, something with ease, where there's grace, the things that make us able to relax and enjoy life instead of being on that hamster wheel trying to survive, make money, and stay healthy. There's this this push away from now, away from what we long for. Blessedly, I do talk to a lot of people who are fully centered here and are seeing it also. Because when you live in here, let's say in the longing, in the love, in your heart, like we were putting your attention on what you really want, what kind of a life you want to live, what kind of a world you want to live in, we have to go here and make ourselves available for that. So most of us, if not all, we want money. We want to make money. No, not necessarily. We want access to money so that we don't have to struggle to pay our bills, and that we can just share our gifts, the messages that come through, the downloads, the energy, the presence. So, it makes me wonder, why is there such a gap there? Why is it that the only way you can make a lot of money for most people, I do know there are some healers who are very, very successful, and I think that is wonderful. Most healers and light workers, excuse me, they're struggling. And it is because it's hard for us to plug into the matrix where it is done a certain way to make money. Even as, when you learn about coaching and marketing, it's still the old paradigm of making money that is kind of all we know. And I think it's a really important thing to be aware of if you are a healer / light worker / starseed, whatever. There's many words for it, and I really like them all. And I know that if you are connected with that, you'll feel the same. It's like, yeah, this is why I'm here, even though the world may not fully get it yet. So if it's true that we want to get out of the matrix, We want to get out of the whole way the matrix runs. And that's huge. That's huge. You can't do that overnight. But what we can do is do little steps at a time. And the first step is to honor what this energy that we're feeling, what it wants to express. What is it that wants to come through? Is there a longing to work hard, to do all the right things so you can make money, learn the right marketing ways, the marketing tools, the advertising, the social media networks? Is that something that you long for? I don't. I think I hate it. I think it's awful. But there are people who like it, and I totally think that's great because that's kind of a different, probably a different neural pathway in their brain that like to figure out how to do things and make it work in the matrix. I think that's great. I do believe we need people who can figure out to make the matrix work while we're still in it and while we are transitioning, because you can't just unplug from it all and then how are you going to live when everything that we have been programmed to is to be plugged into the matrix in any way, shape, and form. So, kudos to any of you who are good at marketing within the system, but from here. So that's really, really cool. And we can all learn from that, but it may not be the right way for you or for me. So I'm looking at a new way of being fulfilled and having all our needs met in the matrix without without plugging into it and using the means of the matrix purely or solely. So that's where this listening, this deep listening, honoring what wants to come through, that's what we need to plug in as light workers. If we want to make money or if we want to be fulfilled, which is two very different things. Not just fulfilled on the inner because we're connected to the divine, but certainly fulfilled in the outer because there is really no difference. What we do experience in here is projected out there. So if there's a filter in front of us that believes that it can only be manifested out here in a certain way, then we are cutting ourselves short. So maybe we can do a little brainstorming or heart connecting here to see what would feel good if you need to make money in order to keep living a fulfilled life here. What would you like to see happening? That's something you'll find by going inside. Feel what it is that you long for. What kind of earth would you live in if money is not an issue that you have to make, to get, to grasp onto in order to have your needs met? What other ways are possible? And I'm putting this out to you guys. I talked about it, I think, the other day, and that's what we've also talked about in my little group. The more of us who open up to this possibility, a new way of doing it, of being it, we are literally bringing it into this dimension. If it's only me, it's going to take a long time. And I know it's not just me, there's many, many, many. But if I can just put it out there as an option or as an invitation for everyone to just think about, well, what would feel good? And if there is something in there that you recognize that's like, yeah, that would feel good, please stay with that. That is how it's coming in. Like I've talked about this longing, knocking on the door. It's the same for the new e-commerce or financial way, whatever, how it can start showing up in a new way. I do believe that money in whatever form in exchange is probably going to be around for a while. I may be wrong, but I'm not going to just dismiss it because at this point we're all still dependent on it. So now I'm just going to stitch it back to Joel Goldsmith, who was my first divine connection, actually, when I read his books and started meditating, and everything opened up. So he has been my connection in a way for many, many years. Now, the way he did it, he did not try and make anything happen out there. And he was struggling for a long time when he started out, because he still had a lot of layers of belief that it should look a certain way, or that I think one of them was, I can't remember if I shared that one of it was that he was a very, very successful healer. People just got healed left, right, and center, but for all kind of things, whether it was disease, whether it was finances or marriage, partnerships, whatever. But he was struggling with money. He did not have enough money to even take the bus back home after work. And or maybe I've shared this, but it's so precious to hear it again, I think, or to share it again. He had this idea that as long as he was doing God's work, which he was just seeing God in his patients or clients, and they got healed. He had a special gift there. So he thought, well, if I'm doing God's work, money has to come, money has to flow. But it didn't. And then there was one day when he was walking home from work, where he had the revelation, basically, because he was contemplating it. So he had the revelation that it had nothing to do with that, with what he did, whether he did God's work or not, because fulfillment is everywhere, is who he already is who we already are. So it was just tuning into that and let go of that belief that it had to, that he had, that it was doing God's work. Of course he should get money, but he didn't. But once that belief was gone, that's when things started flowing. And that is how it is for you and I too. It should be, it has to be. How can it be any other way? That if we already are the fullness of the divine, how are we blocking that ourselves? How is it not flowing from the inner to the outer? How is that it's not expressing itself in our experience? And, maybe some of the healers have this thing, because I've talked to some friends about it, and they say, yeah, I have that belief too. I'm doing God's work. There should be money flowing. And there wasn't. So maybe you can take that and look at that yourself, but also look at what other things are getting in the way for what you are feeling or longing for. For me, it is, well, here it is. I've shared this so many times. I'm deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace. See, I'm deeply relaxed. I'm not out there trying. I'm relaxed in the effortless. It's effortless. There's a flow and fulfillment. And it's just coming from God's grace, God's loving grace, which is already what I am. When I rest back as I am, then it's already here. So then the work, of course, is always to see where are there still beliefs, strong beliefs, that are not accepting that as reality yet. And it's taking me many years, from I really felt that truth till today, where it's flowing more. Things are beginning to move, but I had some really deep rooted beliefs, and I think we all do. And I also feel that because of the energies are really here bringing that new frequency through, that it's becoming much easier to tap into that because the resistance and the barriers that we have built against it, Rumi, they are softening. And that's where the whole trouble starts, right? We have closed ourselves off through these limiting beliefs that have nothing to do with reality, and they're softening. So in that, we can just be more open for it to flow and fulfill us. That's what I long for. And it's been so alive in me for so long. And I doubt it's going to change, because that feels like the deepest resting place that I can find at this point. So, take a little time and just feel into. If you're tired of trying to make money, and trying, if you're struggling and trying to figure it out, see if you can tap into what would feel really good, how you would love it to be instead. How would it come to you? I think if we all spend time there with that, I have a feeling we're going to open up the portal more. The resistance to the opening is going to soften, because we're going to be on the other side of it where it's already happening. So if we hang out here in our longing, then we can just follow it out and let it show us. Because really, we don't really know, do we? We can just feel it, but we don't necessarily know the how to or the practicalness of it. But that's something we can stay with also and show, well, how does it look practically? What would I do? What would we do? And then you stay with the longing and allow the longing to show me the next step.